Cool. We'll open up with a brief statement about the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another good weekend. A little chilly down in North Texas, but overall we played very well. Coming back with 5 more wins. I think they, starting off the season 10-0 is impressive in itself. So just continue that momentum carrying into another tough weekend.
Coach, obviously yesterday the big news, Desiree Fritz while leaving. Just kind of want to hear your comments, kind of just about what she was like, kind of to work with her past 3+ years, and just does it change any of your day-to-day operations, anything like that?
First I'll say like Desiree did an unbelievable job here at Mizzou, created a lot of momentum, and I have complete trust and faith in President Choi and the Board of Curators to figure out who our next leader is. In terms of, does it change anything? No. I mean, Mizzou softball was exceptional before Desiree was here, and while Desiree was here and will continue to be, because it's the players that are within the program, and that doesn't change. Our mission doesn't change. The game doesn't change. We just need to have that leadership at the top, but it doesn't change what we're trying to do and what our philosophy is within our program.
It's easy to have. Just give us some insight on.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. I mean, winning's fun. I mean, it's a great atmosphere to be around, but I think what's really different about this team is their intent, and they have unbelievable passion for the game and each other, and that's contagious. And when you have trust in your teammates and what you're doing every single day and the effort that everybody's putting in since they stepped foot on campus in August, it's easy to go out and play well because you have trust in each other, and it just makes it a lot of fun. I'm enjoying being around this group because I know that their intent is always there, and I'm having a good time with them. I don't have to go to practice and motivate. I don't have to go to practice and worry about outside stuff. It literally is a very easy conversation at practice on this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to accomplish. And we're going to get out of here as fast as we can because I know that their effort and their attention to detail is there.
Coach, I remember I asked you last week about the key to success, and you said it's all about controlling what you can control. Do you think you did a good job of that?
So the weather was tough. I mean, it was brutal conditions. It was 32 degrees. We had a 30-mile-an-hour wind blowing straight in on Friday. It was probably about 20 blowing straight in on Saturday. So those are tough conditions. And you have to overcome not only the opponents, but then the weather. And the weather is an unbelievable neutralizer and barometer in our game. And it can make your opponent more even than it is on paper because of the weather. And that's exactly what happened on Friday. I mean, for Sierra Harrison to throw a no-hitter and then to be a part of a double no-hitter is first in my career, but it just shows you the conditions we were having to play in. And to come out on top with such tough conditions, it just shows you the resiliency and that we're going to be able to try to do anything we possibly can to be able to manufacture runs to come out on the winning end.
What has impressed you about Sierra this season? Obviously, 21 at third, only 4 hits, no runs, just kind of an impressive start to her sophomore campaign. What's kind of just stood out to you about what she's done well?
Her competitiveness and her composure on the mound. She's not getting a lot of swings and misses, and I think that's going to come over time because she has the ability, and I see it in the bullpen all the time, but her ability to be able to locate. She reminds me very similarly to Jordan Weber. Jordan Weber did not throw high velocity, and CC is a little bit harder than Jordan, but Sierra is understanding where the ball needs to go to get the result that she needs to. And she's getting easy outs, which just makes it easier for our defense. But it's really her competitiveness. I mean, she comes through in clutch situations. She makes some really, really key pitches. And then what adds to it is her energy. She's one of those types of players that when she's on the mound, everybody just has a little bit more hop in their step because she brings so much energy out there. Hitters want to hit, and they always go up there looking to hit the ball, and sometimes the best at bats are those walks. And I think Maddie Gallagher, I mean, her performance kind of is the epitome of what a quality at bat is. She in game 1, I think it was actually game 3, she had 3 walks, and then game 4 she went 4 for 4. And it was those walks that led her to have an opportunity to have a successful 4 for 4 outing. When hitters are walking, I know they're seeing the ball. And they're understanding that the ball is dictating what the result is. A lot of times hitters will go up there and they're just too anxious and they feel that they have to hit and put the ball in play rather than have that quality at bat. So it's just reassuring to them that a walk is just as successful as a base hit. It doesn't matter how you get on base.
Coach, I know we already talked about Sierra, but your entire pitching bullpen has looked absolutely phenomenal so far. Haven't allowed more than 3 runs in a game. Just what speaks to that depth and that confidence to put in basically anybody at any point and be able to see successful results?
Yeah, and that was the one thing going from week 1 to week 2. I wanted to get more pitchers out there and get them more experience. And we were able to do so. And I was really glad to be able to see Lily Witten. She hasn't thrown competitively in 3 years. She had an injury in high school and then redshirted last year. So to have her go out and pitch as competitively as she did, I mean, that just adds to the depth of our bullpen because she hasn't been in that situation yet. And then get Natalie Touche and JC Cruzy out there to be able to get some experience in innings. So now to get them more time on the mound, I can be able to manage a little bit differently and put them in situations that I know they're going to be successful. And then it takes the pressure off of Lauren Krings and Sierra Harrison and Marissa McCann needs to get a little bit more time, but not to rely solely on 1 or 2 pitchers throughout the course of the season. So now I can spot pitch them a little bit more so they're healthier going down the stretch. And that's our ultimate goal, is that we're peaking at the right time in late April, early May, that we can carry that momentum into our postseason and have a really good run.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of the locker room aspect, just kind of people buying in. And you mentioned earlier this season, Alex and Jenna being some of those key leaders. Is there anyone else who's kind of really impressed you with their ability to step up and lead, especially this season, just kind of out the gates?
You know, everyone leads in their own different way, but I would say Julia Crenshaw and Cara Daly are 2 that have become more vocal leaders. Jenna and Alex are the silent, lead by example type of players and will always do the right thing. And whenever those 2 speak, everybody listens because whatever that's coming out of their mouth is almost gold. Crenshaw and Daly are the lead from the vocal standpoint, that it's the locker room voice. And when I ask a question at the end of the game or end of practice, really it's those 2 that start to speak up even more. But I think what is extremely special about this group is our freshman class. Our freshmen, we have 8 freshmen and 1 transfer. They have so much energy. They're so unbelievably passionate about the game and about Mizzou. And our seniors, our upperclassmen, allow them to have a voice. And I think that's what's really special because we don't have that hierarchy where it's, you know, you can't talk when you're a freshman and, you know, you have to pay your dues. It's our seniors are empowering our freshmen to be who they are. And that's the personality that you start to see within our team with the dancing in the dugout and the high energy. And that's really coming from our freshman class.
That meeting last greater. What did you like about your guys' abilities to not just get runners in scoring position, but in spring?
I think it was the number of opportunities we scored with 2 outs. That's a stat that we really pay attention to is how are we manufacturing runs, but what are we doing when we have 2 outs? Because it's really easy that once you get 2 outs is to not have that same level of competition and concentration and just kind of pack it in and wait for the next inning, where we got 2 outs and there was a couple times that we had runners in scoring position and bases loaded. And we didn't score for the first 2 and we would have 0 outs and it was all of a sudden we had 2 outs and we were in the same exact situation. And then being able to score with those 2 outs where it's that fight mentality and that grit on, I don't want to be the last out and just continue to pass that bat. And I think one of the best at bats that I saw was Stefania Ambriscato. And it was after we scored 6 or 7 runs in an inning and they made a pitching change and it was Katie Chester's grand slam. And then she led off after that change and drew a walk. Like that's so huge that you clear the bases on a grand slam and then you have a freshman that draws a walk to continue to have that momentum and pass the bat to the next person behind her.
Coach, I know you talked about Julia Crenshaw and her spoke leader. What have you seen from her as a catcher? I know we talked about the pitchers doing great things, but it takes 2 to tango up.
Yeah, and she's done an unbelievable job. And again, she was not born a catcher. We've created her and she's worked extremely hard to become a catcher at this level. And she's really taken it upon herself to understand her craft. In every single game, she's asking, how am I doing? Am I turning balls into strikes? Am I taking strikes out of the zone? We have a lot of analytics programs that we're sharing with her to show how she's being able to manipulate the ball and get as many calls as possible. But what she's really done is she's become extremely tough to steal on. And that was probably one of her weaknesses last year, was probably blocking and her caught stealing attempts. And she's becoming a force back there and having some key caught stealing actions that are happening that has really shut down the running game. I mean, she hasn't picked anybody off, but she's very active in throwing to throw the bases to keep the leads a lot shorter, which completely shuts down the running game.
Coach, we've talked about it a bit, but kind of 10-0 starts the season, first time since 2009, a rise to top 10 in some of the rankings. Just, what is different about this team that maybe some of the teams you've coached in the past, just about their ability to kind of start fast and with that confidence?
I'm going to overuse this word all year. It's intent. They have a different level of intent on everything that they do. And from day one, the first meeting that we had in the fall that we came on campus, Julie Crenshaw said, we need to trust the process. And we need to trust what our coaches are telling us. We need to trust the preparation. We need to trust that we're always doing the right thing, that if it's about recovery, that we're doing those things so that we can rebound, and just to buy in that everyone's doing the right thing for the success of the program and not doubt it. And they've done that. And that's where it becomes a lot easier at practice, that I don't have to motivate. I don't have to give them a reason why. It's coaches saying this is what we need to do because it's going to help us win. And they're completely bought into it. It's such an unbelievable experience as a coach to have a team that's done that. And then when you have everybody that is competing all the time, and you have 22 players that are so unbelievably talented, and the freshmen are pushing the upperclassmen then excel and become better. And that's really what we have going on right now, where Julia Crenshaw's biggest fan is Stefania Ambriscato, and they're fighting for the same position. And when Stefania's in there, Julia's supporting Stefania, and Stefania's supporting Julia. So to have that camaraderie and that respect for one another carries over to the success on the field, because then you don't have selfish players. And that's the biggest difference, is they're not out there for themselves, they're out there for Mizzou.
Any questions from Zoom? Eric, Natalie?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions for Coach. Tell me about Mary Nutter and that competition you're about to face. What's it like to play in that tournament and facing the competition like you'll be facing this week?
The tournament's awesome. The atmosphere is really, really cool to play in the replica, Major League Baseball replica stadiums. It's a cool atmosphere. The ball flies a little bit differently. There's large crowds because the competition is extremely high. So even if they're not at your game, it's loud throughout the entire ballpark. I think the biggest challenge for us is going to be the short turnaround. We head out tomorrow, so we've only had 2 days rest. We will have a very light practice today, and then we immediately turn around and get on another airplane. The time change is another factor. All of our games are going to be extremely late for Central Time, and so we have to make sure that we're recovering and do what we need to do during the day, so then we're not fatiguing out late at night. But other than that, I mean, the game is the game. And it's just such a great preparation going into conference play, which is exactly what we need to see before we start opening up.
How do you feel about your defense 2 weeks in, especially as you mentioned with the elements you had to deal with in Denton there? How do you feel about your defense 2 weeks into the season?
I think we're a little slow. Fundamentally, we're great, but I'd like to see us a little bit more explosive. We're getting beat in front, which is an easy problem to fix. And I'm going to attribute to that to taking a lot of ground balls on turf, and the speed of the game is a little bit different, and we haven't really had a ton of practices on dirt. But when I'm seeing that we're having weak ground balls, which is great for our pitching staff, that we're having really, really easy ground balls, and I'm seeing us get a little bit beat and waiting for the ball to come to us, which I can just attribute to some fatigue. We really have not had a lot of rest, and I'm kind of looking forward to, after Mary Nutter, to give them a couple days off and get back into the weight room and do some little quick explosive stuff, so then we get our legs back.
And then what's a couple keys to having success there? You mentioned the quick turnarounds, the competition, and all that. What are a couple things that you're like, okay, we got to do this to have a successful weekend out there?
I have a complete confidence in our pitching and our defense. I think it's going to come down to our hitting. We've seen a ton of different speed of pitchers. I think the low and slow and the off-speed stuff is really setting us off balance, and we're not making adjustments, and we're kind of getting caught in between speeds where we don't know if we want to hit the slow stuff, we don't know if we want to hit the hard stuff, and we're not really squaring up either. So I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment for us, is to really have a good game plan and just stay disciplined to that game plan.
Any other questions on Zoom?
Hey, Larissa, as leadership looks for a new athletic director, what are the factors that are important to you as a coach in your position in the next AD?
I think it's student athletes. We have unbelievable student athletes here, and I think Desiree did a great job in giving them a voice, and also fan engagement. So it's just continuing that momentum. And I've had a lot of athletic directors over my career, and the ones that I work extremely well with and that are most successful are the ones that are completely engaged in the sports programs. I know that they have a huge responsibility in fundraising and bringing in a lot of revenue. But in terms of, I'm working with student athletes every single day, and I want them to feel that what they do is extremely important. And having a really good communicator and understanding the needs of each individual program will elevate all of our programs.
All right,
Cool.
awesome.
Thanks, everyone.